Hello, good morning. Welcome to the HEB Chamber Business Success Seminar. My name is Sue Schultz, and I am the owner of What's Poppin' Texas, and I'm also the chair of the Success Group. Our goal team is the one that hosts these videos or these seminars. So uh, they're our aim is to make them really helpful for our members and our community. This morning, Integris is our sponsor for these seminars, and today we are lucky enough to have Integris with us to talk a little bit about AI and cybersecurity, which I think is such a huge hot topic right now. So thank you for coming. Um, Without the support of our sponsors, we couldn't do these events. So thank you, Integris. Thank you for doing this for us. They also are the in-house seminars that we do every other month. So if you can't do the ones online, make sure you come into the chamber because those seminars are also very, very good. And I'm going to start now and introduce Kenny. Kenny's been with the company since 2022. I'm going to read this, Kenny. With a strong background in cybersecurity and compliance, Kenny excels in helping clients navigate complex regulatory requirements and implementing tailored IT solutions. His speaker today is Anthony, and I'll turn this over to you, Kenny. Can introduce Anthony, and um, I'm going to go on mute. So,
Perfect. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for the warm welcome. Yes, I do have Anthony, who is our Chief Revenue Officer here at Integris. I think he joined the team in 2017. Is that correct, Anthony?
Right.
And prior to that, he was working a lot with cyber insurance, but he focuses a lot with Integris's growth and development when it comes to being a national MSP. So both of us are very excited to be here, and both of us are very happy to be sponsors for this business success series. So we'll kind of go ahead and get started if that's okay with you guys. I will start by sharing my screen, and then we'll kind of go back and forth with the quick agenda, share a little bit about, go over what we wanted to talk about today, which is AI and Copilot. And then I'll have Anthony even go through some real life examples that the ways that he utilizes Copilot within the sales team as well, just to kind of give us, a real world example of how it can be utilized in the business and how you guys can utilize it as well. But I'm going to share my screen. I think I'm going to try to, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we'll see. I'm going to try to get it to work to where the sound's going to work too, because I think we have like a video or two that we wanted to share as well. But yeah, welcome, Anthony. Did you want to make a quick introduction as well?
Yeah, just want to thank the Chamber for having us, supporting the business community all across the country, but specifically in the DFW metro market is very important to us. So when things like this are going on and business organizations are coming together to educate their members, there's nothing more important than that. So they can stay ahead of the curve and continue to compete in today's marketplace and continue to thrive. And obviously, AI is probably one of the hottest topics nowadays. We've been talking about it for a year. And I think there's a lot to learn. As Kenny mentioned, what I'm most excited about is to show you real world examples that anybody can use. Doesn't matter your title, position, or anything. So I'm going to go through some real examples. So we'll make sure there's some meat that we have to get to. So you guys are prepared for what's coming with this, but then we'll also get into that too. So if you can hold with us for a little while, I promise I will share my screen and we'll get in. You'll see my inbox, you'll see my calendar, you'll see some Excel sheets, you'll see some recorded videos just like this, and how you could potentially use Copilot in your business.
Perfect. So our agenda for today, kind of like how Anthony was mentioning, we're going to first start off with some basic just basic definition. What is AI? What is that buzzword? What is that marketing lingo that everybody's talking about? Talk about AI in the workforce. How are the different departments within a business utilizing AI now? Give you guys that overview of Copilot and Anthony going over the examples, and then kind of breakdown of how you guys could get started. What does it really take, and what is it? What are those thoughts and questions that you have to think about before implementing it within your business? So Anthony, one of the again, going back to AI, that marketing lingo and that being such a buzzword, I feel like there's a lot of meanings when people say AI. What do you think it means for businesses now, or what is your definition of it?
Yeah, so for me to keep it very simple, it's true AI is understanding context. That could be context in communication between me and Lindsay, or it could be context in multiple documentations, an Excel file, a Word document, a presentation, and understanding all of that context and how it plays together to give you a better answer, right? Almost all of us have grown up or been in the Google age, which is more search based. I ask a question because I'm looking to find something. AI now is going to take that to the next level and be able to give us answers based off of actual context related to us, which makes it that much better. So, in its most simplest form, you're adding in context on top of the automation, the machine learning, and we have a slide on that. But a lot of times you're going to hear everything has AI because marketing departments can easily say that and get away with it because it's so confusing. The reality is you got to be careful of everything you see out there and you got to understand it. So with the next slide, Kenny, let's get into that. We'll touch on a couple topics and I'll give you some overview of some of the other languages you'll hear out there. But number one, I think we all know this. I like to say the world has changed rapidly. We see about it, we talk about it with our families on Sunday, when we're all together. But I like to even talk about the world has changed dramatically, what I call pre-COVID, during COVID, and then post-COVID. I think we saw more change in the matter of 3 to 4 years than we had seen in 10, 15, 20-year periods before. Right? 2000, we saw a big change with the internet bubble. Then 2000, 2008, 2007, 2008, obviously the financial collapse, things changed again. But then if you think about the COVID period of time, it was 2019, 2020 to 2022, and then 23 onward. We saw rapid changes in business and how even the chamber operates, I'm sure, how everyone comes to work. So that is the difference. And now we throw AI on top of those most rapid changes we've had in a very tight window. And obviously, it's an inflection point for us. Next slide, Kenny.
So this one's pretty interesting, and I mean, I interpret it as, technology has definitely been something that has been very quick to adopt. But what do you notice here, Anthony? What is so unique about this slide here?
Yeah, so what this slide is showing is adoption for different technologies to 100 million users, which is the typical baseline or measuring stick that technologies will use. And everyone that's going to be hearing this has experienced all of these. Mobile phones, 16 years to get to 100 million users. The internet took 7. Facebook, aka social media, took 4.5, and ChatGPT, the most prominent name in the AI game, only took 3 months. So when I talk about this to business owners or a business community like the chambers, I talk about businesses had the ability to take their time to get used to mobile phones. They had 16 years before there was mass adoption. Businesses had 7 years to start to figure out the internet. And what a lot of you are probably experiencing now is if you don't have any type of online presence, a website, a Google My Business profile, it's becoming harder and harder to generate business. You may have legacy connections and customers that you utilize. That's great. But finding new ones, if you don't have an online presence, is becoming extremely difficult, especially as the age of our buyers or the people making buying decisions in organizations changes. Then you go to social media, right? That's been the next biggest thing. And I can tell you, businesses that have really doubled down on their social media presence, doesn't matter if they're a wholesaler, a distributor, a manufacturer, a technology company, a chamber, the ones that have doubled down on their social media presence are actively engaged and growing their audiences. I like to say to our team, our customers, our prospects, they don't wake up and go to integrisit.com. They wake up and go to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, right? It continuously is changing. So, what as a business, where are our buyers? Where are our customers? And how are we feeding them information? Very important here for everybody to think about because the adoption is ridiculous. Now we get to the final one, which is why we're all here today, which is AI, right? If it took 3 months to get 100 million people actively using a new technology, that is significant. You can see the almost halving of all of these down the line, right? So what this says to me is and why you're all here today, right? I have to learn this. I have to understand it. I may not be able to implement it today, but I've got to be staying on top of my game because it will change the way we do business yet once again. Next slide. So
Anthony, go ahead,
sorry,
sorry.
go ahead, Kenny.
No, I was going to say, so another thing that maybe might be a misconception or might be confused is the word automation with AI. I mean, is there a difference there, or what's the similarity or difference, or what does this really show?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to give you a real example on the next slide, but real quick, I'm a marketing and sales guy. I have it in my heart. I've been doing it for 15 to 20 years. I love, making sure that we're the biggest and greatest thing. What you all need to be aware of is every vendor, everything you talk about, they are going to say they have AI, quote unquote. The reality is that everybody that really hasn't been defined as an industry standard, so they can use that and they're not making false claims. What I would tell all of you is to understand, you're really trying to understand the difference between automation and AI, as I talked about on that first thing, which is context. Does it have the context? Is it interpreting the context, the feeling, the tone of whatever it may be doing? So a lot of the things that mix into this environment, you'll see machine learning, you'll see natural language processing. Obviously, you have that cognitive computing. And then on the right-hand side, that automation, a lot of what we have today in AI is really just robotic process automation. It's when you combine all of those in that middle where you truly have AI engine that can do something different for you. So with the next slide, I'm going to give you guys an example of how this is used in a customer service center and the difference between the two to give you a little feeling for it. So in a customer service center, they're getting a ton of emails in about customer service requests. Automation would be Anthony setting up a rule that every time in my email, that every time Lindsay emails me, it's going to go to this inbox, right? I said a very if that, then this. It's very simple. If Lindsay emails me, it goes to my HEB Chamber of Commerce folder. That's automation. And that's a lot of still what's out there today. It's getting better and they're giving you suggestions on things you could automate, but that's the automation example. The AI example, the next level of that is it actually interprets the Lindsay email she sent to me. It understands her ask. It understands her tone. It understands if there's a potential issue with that ask. And then it formulates a response based on her tone, making sure, say she was frustrated, making sure we ease her frustrations. But then it also adds on the context of everything in the environment that it knows. So Lindsay's called in 5 times. 3 of the times it's been an issue with her washer. Two of the times it's about the dryer she bought from us. So it has it knows exactly when she purchased it. It knows what warranties are still left on those machines, right? So it has all of that context plus the context of her email, and it is able to formulate a response. That is way different, as you can see, than just Lindsay emailed me and it goes over here and somebody processes that request. Hopefully that was a good overview of the difference of what you'll see in the world. And you can also see the power of that, right? Becomes, hey, right now I just process Lindsay email and it goes to a customer service rep that only handles her account, let's say. But that person still has to then go get the context and do all the follow up and whatnot, versus the time savings and probably the better response of the automation, the AI actually doing the work that I just described.
Perfect. So now let's get into maybe what are we seeing now in the workforce? What are some statistics? Maybe
Yeah.
talk about digital debt.
Yeah, so the number one thing that people are experiencing, I'm sure everyone on this call is to a certain degree, is what they're calling digital debt. And digital debt is basically because of the hybrid, fully remote, or in-office hybrid approach, there's so many more meetings than there ever was before. Why? Because I can't just go down the hall and talk to Sue and say, "Hey, Sue, what are you doing on this?" And it's a 5-second conversation versus now every time I want to talk to Sue, I've got to schedule a meeting with her. And our team, I don't know if everyone else's team, a lot of people default to that hour meeting. And then now people are starting to default to the half hour. And now we're getting down to 15 minutes, right? But it just is like, if I have 35 15-minute meetings, how much work can I actually do, right? How much strategy can I actually do? So that all of that nonsense, that noise that we've gotten because of the post-COVID world is what's called digital debt. So employees are feeling it. 64% of people don't think they have enough time or energy to do their actual job. Just yesterday, I think it was 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I said to somebody I was on a final meeting with, like, my eyes are tired. I can't look at this screen anymore, right? It's not that in-person communication anymore. We're staring at screens all day long because this is how we now communicate a lot of the time, both externally and internally. 50% of people are time is spent just communicating, right? Like there's so much more effort into trying to communicate, emails, phones, chats, video calls. It's becoming ridiculous. And then 43% of employees' time is spent creating. So how do we enhance that? Let's move on to the next slide. This gives you a ton of different findings based on Microsoft 365 Copilot. And I like to say real quick before we get into all the Microsoft Copilot stuff, the reason Integris is talking primarily about Microsoft and their AI solution, which is currently Copilot, is because it's the most common language across the business community, right? If I was to come in here and talk to you about QuickBooks as AI or Sage Intacct AI, that may only resonate with a very small portion of the audience. The reason Integris is using Microsoft is it's the broadest range of tools that the business community uses, and Microsoft is also the most advanced in the business community on this stuff right now. So we're not going to go through each and every one of these. We're going to provide this deck. I really want to make sure we get to the examples in the limited time we have today. But what really stands out to me is the right-hand side of the screen. I think about, or Integris thinks about technology in a couple different ways for our customers. Number one, are they using technology to better service their customers, right? Is technology helping them do their jobs better? Number two, is technology being used to make their employees' lives easier, therefore better servicing their customers, whatever they may be doing? And now the third angle that we're getting to is technology being used to recruit and retain talent? And I don't think we're there yet with Copilot, but I could imagine a world in which Anthony has access to Copilot at Integris, and I go to another organization and they don't have Copilot. And I've gotten extreme benefit out of using it. It's made me more productive. It's removed my digital debt. Ba, 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 ba. And I'm probably going to be a big advocate for it over there and request access. It may be eventually a tool or tools that you will retain you. Maybe I don't leave Integris because the new company isn't into AI. So this is how we think about different things. And you got to remember, as generations keep moving on and on and on, the younger generations, I don't even know what we're on now, millennials, X, Z, Y, I don't know where we're at. But as you can imagine, they're growing, they're in school with this stuff right now, right? They're literally in elementary, middle school, high school, college. They are using this. So as they come in and as we continue to explore it, it's going to be more and more important. Something that you all should be thinking about. Technology in general as a recruit and retain employees so that they better service your customers and maybe increase your efficiency. Next slide.
Awesome.
All right. The final point here is 87% of organizations believe AI will give them a competitive edge. So that's, a lot of people are very positive on this. This was a broad audience. It was done by MIT, right? So the feeling is there. Now the reality is how do we make this a reality? Is it a reality or are we still in la la land? Are we still exploring it? And my answer would be it's a combination of both. I'm not on here to say that AI is going to solve all of your problems. It's not. But it is a tool we need to understand. And if we utilize it properly, it could make us better overall. Next slide. All right, let's get into some departments. We're going to kind of move quickly because I have real world examples for you. But when looking at it, we're looking by function specifically. So across the different departments, I went out to Microsoft's office in Minneapolis and they trained us on this as they launched it. I think it was back in February when they launched it to the broader business community with no minimums. And their answer was the biggest problem they have is adoption rates. So a company releases it to their employees and the adoption dramatically decreases over time. Then it becomes shelfware or technology that we're paying for that we're not using, and it's not cheap. The Microsoft Copilot license is $30 per user per month on an annual commitment. So that's a $360 commitment per employee that utilizes it. Now, the reality is, I think very quickly you could make an ROI case on $360 across the course of a year, but you got to be prepared for it and thinking about it. The way they educated us on implementing it in your business or any business was you take one individual from each of these teams or any department you have, and you start with them. So you start with a small cohort of, in this case, it would be 5 folks in 5 different departments, and you do a 8-week to 12-week proof of concept, where every single week they are utilizing the tool and trying to figure out different ways to use it. And then let's say every Friday, those 5 people get together and they share their use cases across their different departments. This creates that creativity of how can I use this? How can I use it differently? What's working for me? How is it working for you? When the 12 weeks is over, now you have full documentation on a lot of different ways people can use this. And then you expand it a little bit further if it's working for you. You go to 3 people per department or 5. So there's a slow adoption across this, not I just wake up today and I have 30 employees and I release it to all of them. The adoption is going to go dramatically down. Go to the next slide, Kenny. So you have function on the previous slide, now you have workflow, and that's a lot of what I'm going to show you real examples, but meetings are way more effective. The way I like to say this is now I can record all my meetings like we're doing today, and then I can summarize it and go back to it and ask it questions. And I'm going to show you a real example of that. So I have one example there of I had a meeting 2 to 3 months ago, and we set a calendar date for a presentation like this for the next week. So I'm 2 to 3 months post the meeting where we talked about the planning, the agenda, and whatnot. I was able to go the week prior, go back to that meeting recording and ask it exactly what each individual wanted to get out of the presentation, what was most important to them, and then tailor the presentation for that following week. In the past, I would have had to set another meeting with them to say, what did we talk about 2 to 3 months ago? Or I have these handwritten notes, or even I typed up these notes. I have questions on the following things. I also would in the past recorded the meeting, but I would have had to watch the whole thing to be able to get the full context again. Now I don't have to do that. Time savings. Content creation. A lot of times we sit and stare at a blank PowerPoint, a blank Word document, and we don't know where to start. This helps you get started. It helps you move the needle, once again, with the context of the documentation that's in your network. And then email processing. I'm going to show you an example of that, but I used to have a slide. We cut it from this deck of I'm in an airline. I think United Airlines. I'm flying from DFW to Newark Airport, and I'm at a board meeting. And at that time, it was an 8-hour board meeting. I have an email chain that piled up of 35 plus emails. I'm 30,000 feet in the air, and I hit summarize by Copilot. And it gave me in one shot 5 key bullet points of what everyone was talking about, what different people thought about the email, what the next steps were. And I had just saved, I didn't know if it was true or not, right? I had to go back and check it, which I did. But you can think about, how many email chains do we have that we get lost on because we're at a customer site or we're at a conference or something like that? How can I quickly get back on top of things with full context? That's a really good one.
Cool. Well, Anthony, let's get to it. Let's get to the exciting part. I know I'm going to let you share the screen and maybe give us some real life examples.
Cool. Yeah, and Kenny has videos all in here. We're not going to play them today for you because of time, but you guys will be able to play all of them. I'm going to share my screen, just give you a couple quick examples in real life. So Kenny, just give me the thumbs up or give me the yay that you can see my screen now. Cool. I'm seeing shaking heads. All right. So this is my actual inbox. This is all real. This is today. This is live. This is a subject matter expert for Q4 meetings in Orlando. So this is something I have to go present on. And real quickly, you see at the top of my screen here, it says schedule with Copilot. So I'm going to click on this now, and this is real time. You're going to see composing event title, agenda, and thread summary. So real quick, Copilot is going to be able to generate a pretty cool example for us based on an email chain. Now, this is only 3 people. It's me and 2 others. But can you imagine at Integris with, I think we have 600 folks approximately now. Most of our email chains or meetings need 5 to 10 people on them. So you'll see real quick, what this generates. And the other thing I like to mention is how many meetings that you show up on don't have agendas. How many of them don't show up with the full context, right? It's like, hey, what are we talking about today? Or why are we doing this? Like, I know this is the title, but what are we actually trying to do here? So as long as this works in real time, that's always the danger of these things. We will show you this here.
Yeah, I know for me, if I'm gone, I think like last week I was off once or one day. I had 100 emails maybe to go through, and I just had to be able to sift through all of them really, really, really quickly. And stuff like this is something that I already know would be just as efficient and productive. Be able to kind of get back to the day and then be able to start the day a little bit quicker than what it is now.
Now, we tested this when I wasn't on a call, and so the internet bandwidth may be a little bit of an issue here. Give me a second. Come on. Yeah, that's pulling. Give me 1 second. Let's try it one time. I have multiple different examples for you guys too. So if this one doesn't work, we'll show it. But the end result of this in testing in live action, it gives you oh, here we go. Beautiful. Let me circle this up. All right, so it gave me the Outlook. It automatically attached all the emails directly to it. So I don't have to go and find them. Once again, this is in the calendar invite. It quickly gave me an agenda and it gave me a time slot at which we could meet. And then it summarized the overall conversation from that email for us as well. So pretty cool technology, right? Just by looking at an email chain and hitting schedule with Copilot. Pretty cool way you could do that. So think about the chamber. They have external, internal team members, right? How do I get everybody together with full context, different committees and things like that? Now, this is a live look at my calendar. In my calendar, I have a meeting after this called Sync. This is with our HR team, Sync on the legal practice hiring strategy. So we have a legal practice. And real quick, this button up here is what Copilot looks like. It's in all of the M365 applications. And I'm going to say, help me prepare. It also gives you all of these different things you can utilize to get you started, whether you're in Word, Excel, whatnot. It'll always help you get started. Help me prepare for my meeting on legal practice hiring. So let's see what it gives us here. And obviously I could have typed in any different meeting here and it would have assisted me. But this will go through contacts, documents, emails, chats, meetings, and web results to figure out what to help me prepare for this meeting. And that's what I think is the coolest thing. We're so used to going to Google and being able to search, but inside of our own company, all of the things we have, how does it fully understand the context of that? Because that gives Anthony a way better answer when talking to Kenny versus just web results that others. So real quick, from inside my company gives me a whole breakdown on things I should be thinking about as I prepare. It also has these different references of where did it actually pull this information from. So I can constantly spot check Copilot in anything that I'm doing. It also then went external to the web and took things that I should be paying attention to and give me those references as well. It will always give me the little sub note that says AI generated content may be incorrect. Microsoft is going to constantly tell us that so that we don't go and assume it. And then finally, all of those references are then linked here at the bottom if we want to go and check anything specific. Now keep us moving. I pulled up an Excel data of won opportunities for one of my previous owners. And I'm going to go quickly really here. Excel, all of the data has to be in a table format. But really quickly, it says there's always this button here in a table that says show data insights. I like to always start there because it'll start to create data and insights that I may not have been thinking about. So I'm going to show you guys this. And let's see what it gives us. Here we go. I analyzed data in the cells, and here's what I found. Product by project. Sum of the product. It's going to keep going from here. And the cool part about this is a lot of people that don't like to make pivot tables and things like that, it's overly complex. I'm going to be able to add this to a new sheet, and boom, here's my original data set. Here's not my new pivot table. And it's starting to give me insights. How cool is that? I hate Excel personally. I am not a good Excel user. This makes me extremely happy because I can easily create a table. I know how to take a data set and hit Control T, right? Or Windows key T and make this a data set. I don't know how to do this, but I do know how to ask really good questions on data and insights I would potentially like to see.
So this can be used to create actual dashboards, like recurring dashboards. That's That's
pretty cool, right?
Crazy.
All right, I'm going to give you guys one more and then we're going to wrap up here so we don't get too carried away. This is a meeting just like the one we're on right now that was recorded and lives in Microsoft Stream. So when you get done recording a meeting, it's going to put it in your Microsoft Stream, which you all have access to. Anything, this is like the example I gave you guys before. You can recap the meeting. You can list the action items. You can ask it legitimate questions. So this is with our new VP of our legal practice. His name is Greg Cook. And I was going over our sales process with him to help explain it to him because he doesn't know it. He came from the insurance world. And look, it's telling me everything. Here's the recap it produces. It gives me the timestamps of when these things were all talked about, and I can copy this and send it out. It also provide me the full transcript, and I can also ask, what questions are unresolved? Generate meeting notes. How did Greg feel about this? Anything that I missed? So anyway, pretty cool examples across your email, your calendar, Excel, and meetings that you can go and back and use. And now this lives forever. So if I, hey, Greg wants to come back and look at this recording in a month from now. What's the most important thing about step 2, the strategy session? And it'll tell him, and it'll give him the video notes. So with that, I'm going to stop my share. We'll go back to Kenny to finish up here. So we're right on time.
Awesome.
Nuts.
Well, that one's my favorite now, especially now since I can't really write with my right hand. So I gotta use that for sure to take my notes for me. But yeah, we'll kind of wrap it up here. I know we're close to time, but
there's a couple things, Kenny, that I just want the audience to know about of being careful. So there's a concept here of least privilege. And Integris does a lot of assessments for business organizations about their environment. And almost everyone we go into, every user in the environment, every workstation has admin rights on it, administrative rights. What's the problem with that? Well, if a hacker gets into Anthony and I have admin rights, I've got the keys to the kingdom. So Integris does a lot of work to remove basic things like that from environments to keep businesses protected. We're now with AI, we're getting to the next level of least privilege access. And that concept is really Lindsay needs access to the tools and systems to do her job and nothing more. It's nothing against Lindsay. Nobody, we're not angry at Lindsay, but we want to protect the organization and Lindsay from these threat actors as most as possible. So give her the tools and systems and data she needs to do her job and nothing more. Kenny doesn't need access to our Sage Intacct platform for finances. Doesn't impact his job. There's no reason he should have it. Now, this is the key with AI. When I have a system like what I just showed you set up, I can start to ask it a lot of questions. And what is it looking at? It's looking at the semantic index of the entire IntegrisIT.com or Microsoft 365 tenant, meaning everything in there. So if we do not have that tenant of Microsoft 365 set up properly with correct user permissions, Anthony or Kenny could ask, what's the CEO's salary? Who's on the payroll? When was the last time we got sued? You can just imagine what employees who are very creative could start to ask. So the problem with AI becomes internal and external. So the internal is what I just discussed. It really needs to be set up properly in your 365 tenant. It's called Microsoft 365 hardening. There's over 1,200 checkboxes in that admin console of Microsoft 365. Guess how many people actually look at those 1,200 controls? Almost nobody, right? So that is something that Integris is preparing to help our customers with and the business community. How do we help people fully understand this so they don't get in trouble using this technology? That's internal. The external problem with things like AI will use ChatGPT. So Lindsay decides to take the chambers, and that's a wrong example because it's probably it's nonprofit and finances are probably publicly available with a Form 990. Right? But take a private business and the financial controller decides to take their finances and throw it in ChatGPT, which is a public system, and say, analyze my data. Because they just saw this presentation and they thought that was really cool. Right? That now is training the public AI models on my data. It is now publicly out there and available. So there's an internal risk with AI and an external. Both of them are manageable. But you've got to be thinking about it, right? We can't go into the world of which has existed of Lindsay has access to all 75 systems within the organization. We have to be very protective and we have to scrutinize that. So what is Integris doing right now? Kenny, I think there's a beta slide on here or something like that, just so the community knows of very specifically, Integris is running a beta program for a small group of folks to really start to understand this and unpack their Microsoft 365 tenants. This is information that's being given to us by Microsoft and our vendors to help prepare customers for this. So what Integris likes to say is, we don't want to sell you 1,000 licenses of Copilot. That's the wrong way to do this. What we really want to do is start with making sure you're set up for success and protection before you go and decide to buy those licenses. So with that, I'm going to keep my mouth closed. Thank you to the Chamber for having us. Hopefully this was beneficial, and I really hope you enjoyed the live action that we were able to show today.
Thank you so much,
That was
Anthony.
awesome.
Thank you, Lindsay and Sue, again, to the Chamber as well for letting us present today. And then, I mean, if there are any questions, you can always reach out to us directly. You know, if you're watching the recording, please reach out to us or reach out to the Chamber, you know, to be able to get our information, and we can definitely help out and see what it is that we could do about implementing Copilot or even AI.
Wonderful. Sue, you muted. Unmute yourself. I felt like that was going to come. She's saying thank you. Like I need to go in the other room.
I hear her. No,
Thank you.
I
Sue,
can
you're
read
muted.
language.
She's realizing it now. We'll cut this part. It'll be fine.
Technology.
Awesome.
Sue! I can't unmute her. I can mute her, but I can't unmute her on this. Oh, goodness. There you go. You're realizing it.
Let's see.
Hopefully she can hear me from the next room. I said, we'll cut this part. Where are you? Where's she at? We're very professional around here. I promise. Did you get back on?
No, you can't.
We can hear you now.
Well, I think there is a
picking up my
should be an
audio.
unmute button. Right up there. There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Kenny and Anthony. This, I said, I have a whole sheet full of notes. This was, I didn't even know what AI was. You explained it so well, and you know, I couldn't understand how to use it in business or how it would benefit me. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I want to thank everybody. Oh, and our business success series is sponsored by Integris. We couldn't do it without you guys, and so glad that you could take today and spend some time with us and do this recording. Our next business series will be September 27th. That one is in person, and it will be buy or lease navigating commercial real estate. And that will be at the HEB Chamber. And that's going to be a good one too. But this one was excellent, and I can't wait to be able to go back because and check my notes and see, because you went through so much. So I really, really appreciate you guys being on here. Thank you.
At least you know who to contact now, so we can get
Yes.
things rolling for specific questions.
Well, and then the
Like,
information at the end is not to let everybody have access. You know, you made some great points, like, oh yeah, they could do that. So thank
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
And and always we fill the gap. We like to say we fill the gap with trust, right? Most 99% of employees are doing the right thing. They want to do the right thing. We've got to set them up for success.
But it can be real tempting, even if you're a good person, like, oh, what does the CEO make? Or what is, you know,
Yeah.
I can see them doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I
good.
can see me
Think
doing
about
that,
that.
just out of curiosity, you know.
Don't even think
Okay,
about
well, thank you.